Hello friends, it's Greg here on the Blue Feather Ephemera channel, and I have an eBay store where I sell vintage magazine print advertising. Each week I show you what's sold in my store, and I'm excited to be with you again this week because there's a lot of fun things to talk about in the way of sales, and then right after that I'll be talking to you about a bonus topic. Our sales this week, I had 14 of them for $234.78. When we get to that bonus topic, I called it Fun with Skews, Life versus Look. And what we're going to do, we're going to do a head-to-head matchup in my store and take a look at those two publications and what I'm listing and how they're selling. So stay tuned for that. Right now, let's take a look at those ads. The first advertisement that I've got for you is a really interesting ad for a company called the Edge Company. And that company's based in Brattleboro, Vermont. And I had a chance to go to that town about 5 or 6 years ago. And I actually went to a glass blowing studio there owned by Randy Solin. She is a national treasure. She does some incredible glass blowing, and she has work featured in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. She's in the permanent collections of the White House and various embassies worldwide. She's an incredible artist. I've got a couple of vases and a sculpture done by her, and I don't mean to get sidetracked, but it's just I saw that name. I was excited to list the ad. Interesting enough, this ad has probably garnered more attention over the past year and a half than anything else I've listed. Through the end and sell similar process, you kind of lose track of viewers and watchers and stuff. But I'd say that this ad has had no less than 500 views and several dozen watchers over time. A lot of interest in this. I sold a different Edge ad about a year ago. This one, like I said, real popular, but nobody pulled the trigger on it until just this past week. It ran in Penthouse Magazine, 1986, $10.77, sent it to New York. Next up is a 1963 ad from 17 Magazine, and this is for the Lane Chest Company or Lane Furniture Company. They made cedar chests, and these Lane cedar or sweetheart chests, also called hope chests, were for young ladies to fill with things to prepare for married life and a wedding and all of that. And there's not a lot of detail here other than this cute young couple that's sitting on the upholstered top of the chest, and it looks like she's knitting a sweater and he's helping out. She's wearing some really flashy looking flower power breeches there, um, which that's kind of early in the decade for the flower power to be coming on, but there it is. And anyway, nice and colorful, full page, $14.77. Sent this ad back to its hometown where these chests were made, Alta Vista, Virginia. This fun advertisement here is a very small one that ran in House and Garden magazine 1957. It's for a Jane Mansfield hot aqua bottle. And I thought this was kind of funny. Besides, it says it's made of pink vinyl. It stands 22 inches tall. But this is the part that got me. It says, uh, bring on the cold Arctic nights. Use it as a cocktail shaker or an ice pack also. So I never heard of a water bottle being used as a cocktail shaker, but that's not your ordinary average water bottle either. Anyway, just kind of fun to see. A little novelty ad, $6.77, sent this to California. Here's a super nice ad from 1960. It ran in Senior Scholastic magazine, And that was a weekly magazine that went out to the schools that chose to participate in the purchase of those senior scholastics and to do some of their teaching on current affairs and civics and things like some history stuff and things like that. So uh, that was the kind of publication it was. This is the first one that I've listed from. This one sold relatively quick. I got $14.77 for it. Here in the detail, you can see here that there is a soldier, and in the detail, it says meteorological observer. And so they're not actually, this is a U.S. Army ad, but they're not uh, recruiting directly into the active duty ranks. They're recruiting into a program called the Graduate Specialists, and there's 107 different courses that they're interested in getting trained people for, and these would be the more technical things: electronics, radar, uh, meteorology, missiles, communication, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great little ad, and it's on its way to Mississippi. Now we're going to break from our regular ad reviews, and I'm going to show this again because if it looks familiar, that's because we looked at it about a month ago. And I just got feedback on this, and I guess the feedback is slow to come in because it was slow to ship. It was this ad went to Hungary, but I got feedback, and it was positive feedback, and they said specifically, "I like the cats." Well, I had to go back and look because I didn't remember seeing cats, and if I had seen cats, I would have mentioned cats probably in the title because cat people love cat ads and things that have to do with cats, and um, it's just a keyword that you want to have if it's justified. But I didn't see cats. Now I do. I have no idea what that cat's doing behind the chair. I've read a book where somebody said that a cat was stropping itself on a fella's legs, and I guess that would be like a barber strops a razor on a leather strop, um, just rubbing back and forth. So I guess maybe that's what the cat's doing behind the chair. But then the one that's, I guess, on the arm of the chair or on the lady's lap there, whatever it is, I thought was a belt. I thought it was a belt, and the cat's head was maybe a flower bow that was tied onto the buckle of the belt or something like that. But when, finally, when cats were mentioned to me, I see cats now. I didn't before. But this is your reminder: cat people love cats. If you've got cats, keyword cats. Next up is a 1945 advertisement for Schwinn built bicycles. This company out of Chicago, Illinois. This is the famous Schwinn bicycle by the Arnold Schwinn and Company, makers of bicycles. And in this advertisement, just a reminder here, this ad ran just a couple of months after the official end of World War II and what they called VJ Day in September of 1945. And so um, we've talked about other Schwinn ads in the past where Schwinn was saying that basically they couldn't make bicycles because they were making war supplies and materials. Right here, the character in this advertisement, Speedy Wheeler, he gets his new Schwinn built bicycle, and all the kids are oohing and ahhing over it. And the great thing is, you know, the bicycles have been on hold at this point for over 3 years. So all of the kids are anxious to get the newest bicycles, and Schwinn even promised great improvements. In the detail of this, I just want to point this out. Down here at the bottom, it says, "Hey fellas, you can get a big, exciting movie star bicycle folder for free." And basically, it just talks about how the Hollywood and radio headliners find recreation on Schwinn built bicycles. $12.77. This ran in the Open Road for Boys, 1945. It's on its way to Illinois. Here's an advertisement from 1944. The product is a Holly Tropper hat, And by tropical, I guess it's referring to tropical climates where this hat would be suitable. I never saw any pictures anywhere of U.S. troops wearing hats made like this. But now, this magazine, the Quartermaster Review, they're marketing these things to the supply professionals that outfit the military around the world. So there could have been places, especially in the Pacific Theater, where Americans did wear hats like this. I've never seen that in pictures or anything. But the hat, the style of the hat, this is what I always heard referred to as a pith helmet or a pith hat by the British. I don't know if that's rigid or not. I don't know if that's any protection other than just cloth to shield a head from the sun and rain. But anyway, real interesting ad to see in a 1944 magazine. $8.77 sent this ad to Texas. Here's a nice, colorful half-page ad that ran in McCall's magazine, 1969, and it shows a spray mist cologne here called Nine Flags Shaving Cologne, and it's in a bomb-shaped spray bottle or grenade-shaped. I hesitated to even put bomb in the keywords of the listing title, but apparently it didn't get it um, suppressed or anything like that because it was found and sold within about a week of listing. And $10.77 is the price that I put on this half page ad, and it's on its way to Maine. I've got a nice full page, full color ad from Life magazine, 1967 here. This is for international dinners. And in the detail of the ad, it shows you that you have your choice of an Italian style dinner. And this looks like, let's see, lasagna with meat and ricotta cheese. And then down here, you've got a Chinese style dinner that's got stir fry and sweet and sour shrimp. How rich is that in a TV dinner? And then in the Mexican style dinner, you've got beef enchilada and two tamales and um, all kinds of stuff, the beans and rice. And the German style dinner has sauerbraten. And it also has Bavarian red cabbage, and for the final touch, prune and apricot compote, which don't sound real good to me at all. But anyway, a nice ad, very interesting. $16.77 sent this ad to Washington. On screen right now is an ad that I've been waiting all week to talk about. I've just had a great sense of anticipation to tell you all that this ad sold because I've mentioned it a couple of times. I mentioned the publication I got it in. That was a bolo that I disclosed in one of my early videos. And then in a more recent video, when we were talking about the different qualities of an ad that might allow it to fetch a better price, we talked about subject and history and nostalgia and all that, and then a certain je ne sais quoi. And this ad here has it. It's got great color. It's got the subject matter of trains. It's got the history of the Civil War and all of this. This ran in that Courier Journal newspaper, Louisville, Kentucky newspaper publication from 1960. They were commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Civil War. And so I got a hold of that publication, sold a ton of ads out of it for good prices. I think within a couple of weeks, I'd cleared like $170 or something like that. But anyway, ads have continued to sell from that publication, and this is the best one by far, in my opinion. So the subject here, the Great Locomotive Chase, tells the story of Union soldiers that captured a Confederate locomotive, number 3, called the General, down near Chattanooga. Well, the buyer of this ad lives in Chattanooga. I'm going to consider that this ad is going back to its hometown. So I'll just cover the title here again real quick. L&N Dixie Line Railroad Civil War, The Great Chase Trains vintage print ad. And then in the detail, just a little bit closer look at the art and the color. And there's not time to read the whole story, but I would recommend that if you don't know the history of the locomotive chase that covered 87 miles through Georgia, that it's worth looking into. It's a fascinating story. So that's the first part of what I want to tell you about this ad. I am running 10% off right now. It actually fetched a little bit over $61, but it's on its way to Chattanooga, Tennessee. Now, I'm going to show you something even cooler. So where this review of this ad goes from cool to crazy is right here. On the screen now, uh, what happened, I went out today to run errands, the post office, grocery, came back home. This feedback is waiting for me on eBay. And it's about this ad. It says, "This ad came today and it's absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to frame it and put it on my wall. Thanks so much." And so here's what happened. As I was driving home from those errands at the top of an hour, you know how they play the news on the radio? The top of the hour news said at a White House ceremony today, the president posthumously awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor to two Union soldiers who were involved in a Civil War capture of a Confederate locomotive. And all I could think was, I don't think that ever happened at any other time. I don't think there was ever a different stolen locomotive. There's nothing that I ever read about it. And so I was eager to get home and Google it. Sure enough, the White House ceremony today recognized two soldiers in that April 12th, 1862 capture of the Confederate locomotive called the General, old number three. And so today, of all days, as my customer receives this advertisement that features that history that going on in the White House today, uh, it's the topic of conversation there. Um, it's crazy what the odds must be against all of that going on one day. I mean, the guy buying the ad, receiving it, not a great big deal, but to have it fall on the very day that this White House ceremony is taking place, just by chance, it's very cool. Just a quick look at a couple of things I found on the Google search here. The title of the headline today says Biden bestows Medal of Honor on Union soldiers who helped hijack train in Confederate territory. And this is today. Down in the near the bottom of the article, it says that these two soldiers that were recognized today, Shadrach and Wilson, are being recognized for participating in what became known as the Great Locomotive Chase. Kentucky, it's Kentucky, so I've got to talk about this guy. A Kentucky born civilian spy and scout named James J. Andrews put together a group of volunteers, including Shadrach and Wilson, to degrade the railway and telegraph lines used by Confederates in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Down in the bottom here too, it says that the Walt Disney Corporation made a 1956 movie about the hijacking titled The Great Locomotive Chase that starred Fess Parker and Jeffrey Hunter, and also the 1926 silent film The General starring Buster Keaton was also based on this historic event. So pretty cool stuff there, all about a piece of paper that I sold for about $61 and change. This ad surprised me because I've only had it listed less than 2 weeks, I think. But in addition to having a couple of interesting inquiries about the ad from overseas, it ended up selling to a completely different buyer here in the States. And I did mention It's a steel company, CF&I Steel Corporation, Denver, Colorado. It does mention metallurgy and research and development, and in the text of the advertisement here, it mentions some, well, let me go to a different view. It mentions some of that here, where it's talking about diversification of products and metallurgists increasing research efforts in modern alloy and alloy production and all of that kind of stuff. But CF&I is not really a name I'm familiar with. So, um, a lot of times when you list these ads like this, um, I've never heard of a lot of the ads I list, and a lot of them sell anyway. But I mentioned the Legos, and I've been wondering if maybe somebody just had an interest in the Legos here that are shown at the bottom of the page, because you've got the little car there in the plastic, clear plastic Lego thing, and some other pieces there. And this boy's, handsome lad is playing with the Legos. But he says, "You know us as a steel company. What will he know us as?" And that just talks about the company evolving with the times and everything. But anyway, ran in Fortune magazine 1967, and I sold it for $18.77. It had inquiries from Europe, and yet it went to a buyer in Pennsylvania. Here's another sale I'll enjoy talking about just because it's a little bit different compared to most things that I show you. A lot of ads I know I sell because they have great art in them. Well, this is an ad that has great art in it, but it's art of art. And so that makes it a little bit different from some things I sell. I've sold other ads like this before, where you have an image in an advertisement that's selling art, which is just another image. Um, but somebody had to pay $125 back in 1978 for that art print here. And, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful print, nice artwork here. These horses involved in that steeplechase activity. And it's called Over the Top. The artist is Sam Savitt, I guess would be how you pronounce that. And here's the order form to send and get that art. But I sold it for only $16.77. This ran in Classic Magazine, 1978. It's on its way to North Carolina. This advertisement here is more of an honorable mention because it's just a small ad for a low price, and it's, well, I'm saying ad, but it's not an ad. It's not even a magazine print. This is a printed like a lithograph that I had a few copies of some things like this that I decided to put in my print ad store. But out of all of the things that I have listed, this is one of a couple of dozen that's not related to magazines. It's just ephemera. But it says it's a Wendy Lynn poem about home with art by Kobe. And that in the title there, where it says Scaffa Torna Bean, I think that's the copyright carrier or something like that. But anyway, it's a vintage art print. It's not a vintage print ad. It's not a vintage magazine print. But the copyright dates to 1978. It's a real pretty little thing here. It says home. It is only a roof, four walls, and a door. With luck, it has windows, a chimney, and floor. If you fill it with faith, goodness, and cheer, it spills over forever with love most dear. And that poem signed by Wendy Lynn, with a pretty little cottage-like house and a white picket fence and plenty of flowers blooming. It's a nice little piece of paper. Now I sold it for $8.77, free shipping, so I had to ship it to the global shipping hub in Illinois, which cost me a little bit over $4. When you count my shipping materials that I got about $2 in, eBay fees and all that kind of stuff, maybe I netted $1 on this, but I don't really care. I just wanted to move it out of the store, but I think I had pennies in it, to tell you the truth anyway. but pretty little piece of paper sold. It's going to Ireland through the eBay Global Shipping Program, $8.77. Here's another bicycle related ad from that magazine called The Open Road from Boys. This one also ran in 1945. I'm pretty sure this was from an issue earlier in the year. The other one I think was after VJ Day. This one was probably February, March, or April because I had some from those months. Here at the bottom of this ad, it's reminding people to still continue to buy war bonds and stamps, keep buying victory bonds and stamps. But in the detail here, it shows some of the Delta products that boys can buy for their bicycles. The Delta Road Glider headlight. Here's another headlight called the Winner. It's a smaller, streamlined headlight. And this Spitfire tail light is the most far reflecting of all bicycle tail lights. Over here it says the Delta Electric Company is based in Marion, Indiana. This ad is roughly about almost 6 inches by a little over 7 inches. And like I said before, it ran in the Open Road for Boys in 1945. $10.77 sent this ad to California. The final ad of the week here on screen right now is from Collier's Magazine, 1943, and it's for a company called Stuart Warner. And in this ad, they're talking about their heaters that they sell, that they're providing these for the war effort. And in this little part in the box, it says the car heater whose brothers went to war. And so they've taken technology that they've made for automobiles, and it says they're using a sealed flame principle that produces hot heat in 90 seconds. And it's being used as technology on these aircraft to keep ice off the wings of planes that can rob them of buoyancy and send them hurtling to the earth. And so it says these mighty little miracle heaters can produce as much heat as a home furnace to keep ice off of the airplane wings. And this ad sold for $14.77. It's on its way to Florida. All right. I hope you agree with me that there was a lot of fun sales in there that we just looked at, but now it's about to get even funner because we're transitioning here to the bonus topic. On the screen right now, you see a graphic that I put together to show us sort of a head to head matchup between Life and Look magazines. And down the left hand column there, I said Life was basically the powerhouse publication because it had thousands of writers and journalists and other staff, probably hundreds of photographers. But it was a weekly publication. As a weekly, they could cover more news and current events in a way that was more nimble than what Look could do as a biweekly publication. During the 1930s and 40s, especially, as hometown local newspapers could tap into the wire service and not just get the local news, but also national and world news stories that they could put in the hometown papers within a day or two of events happening. Nobody wanted to reread old stale news that was 2 weeks old about current events, and so Look didn't cover the news in a or current events in a news type fashion, but they delved into it a little more in the way of feature articles, and they covered a lot of feature topics that touched on news and current events in a different way. Life was heavily edited and contextualized, meaning that they wanted to preserve their base of readers among Americans of every stripe. They didn't want to offend anybody, so they were real careful editorially about the kind of stuff that they ran, and any kind of perspectives that might be controversial. They kind of weeded that out a little bit. They did cover popular culture, which included celebrities, but they didn't talk about not much about celebrity gossip. They just, who's doing what movies are coming out, you know, probably things like some marriages and divorces, but not any of the seedier gossip that you might find in tabloidish publications, which I put under the column of Look magazine there. And anyway, moving over to the Look column, it was sort of the underdog. It was the redheaded stepchild compared to Life. I mean, it was a Goliath also, with circulation in the millions, lots and lots of readers. But it was biweekly. They did cover current affairs, like I said before, but they did it in a feature type fashion with more of a Wild West style, meaning that they weren't afraid to cover some of the more controversial topics in society, like the civil rights movement, and also a lot of those social justice issues that were coming to light in the 1950s and 60s. Um, they did cover fads and trends in a big way, and gossip and rumors about celebrities and politicians and everybody else. They weren't afraid of that kind of content either. And like I said before, their celebrity coverage was kind of tabloidish about who was seen where, who's vacationing where, kind of like more like a People or an Us magazine than like a news publication. But there was a historian that wrote a book about Look magazine named Andrew Yarrow. He's a media historian, and his quote here: "Life was more establishment and hence less daring than Look." Now we're going to look at specific numbers from my store. We're going to look at both listings and sales and see how these two stack up against each other. Um, Quick orientation to this page you're looking at. Down the left hand side of the page are all the numbers for Life magazines, and down the right hand side of the page are all the numbers for Look magazines, and the column in the middle tells you what those numbers are for. Now, from top to bottom, the first three rows across are about listings, active listings, unsold items that are still in my store, and they came from the active listings tab in the Seller Hub. And then the next three rows are about ads that have sold, and they came from the paid and shipped information under that tab in the Seller Hub. One more comment to help us get oriented to what we're going to look at here. Um, it is a head to head matchup between these two magazines, Life and Look. But if you'll remember back to the introductory slide, the main title was Fun with SKUs. And I titled it that way because without using a SKU system that I've talked about in a couple of previous videos, it wouldn't be possible to manage and organize this information in a way that I could derive this data to present to you. So having SKUs that are searchable and SKUs that are sortable help me be able to not just present it to you, but look at it in a way that's going to help me make decisions that might affect my store and how I run things. Now let's look at these numbers and see what they mean, if they have anything to reveal to us. First of all, Life magazines, down the left-hand column, I've got listings for 1,138 ads. Um, that's almost exactly three times more than the 384 listings I have for ads from Look magazines. When I sorted my Life magazine SKUs in my store under the active listings, I found that I had $17,122 worth of ads listed from Life magazines if every one of those items sold at its present listed price. That would be what I would make. The Look magazines $5,930. And so the next row shows what the average listing price is on those Life magazine ads. $15.35 is the average listing price on ads I've got in my store from Life magazines. And for Look, it's about 33 cents higher. It is $15.68. That's the average price of an ad that I have listed from Look magazines in my store. So now let's look at the next three rows, which show what's sold in the store and how it's sold and for what prices. Life magazine ads during the last 90 days, I've sold 23 of them. And I want to pause here and comment on a viewer comment that I saw within the past week. A viewer commented that I think maybe it was the last video where none of the ads that sold were from Life magazine. And that's true. And I've not listed a whole lot from Life magazine in recent months, but I do have listings up. And I don't mean to mislead folks into thinking that that I haven't or I will not list Life magazine ads. I have listed them. I'll continue to do so, and they will sell. I'm never going to count on them bringing the best prices for ads in my stores, just because of all of those factors that we've talked about in the past. But if you've not seen those videos, or if you're new to the channel, don't think that I have anything against listing Life or Look magazines. I do have those listings up, and I'll talk more about the comparison of listings between the two as I wrap up here in a few minutes. But for now, Life magazine's a total of 23 sales, Look 6. Um, for the sales revenue, my revenue from Life magazine sales, $347.71 in the last 90 days, and that's compared to $88.62 for Look magazine advertisement sales in the last 90 days. The average sales price, Life is bringing a better average sales price than the Look magazine ads. $15.11 for Life. The Look is 34 cents lower at $14.77. In the last row of this visual here, the sell-through rate is what I call it. That may not be 100% true to form with what other sellers refer to as sell-through rate, but I'm looking in the last 90 days, the number of ads sold compared to the number of ads listed. And for Life magazine, 23 sales is 2% of the 1,138 ads listed of Life magazine advertisements. For Look, 6 ads sold is 1.6% of the 384 listed. And I'm glad that I get to present information like this again on the heels of numbers that I showed last week. And that's just to demonstrate, again, like we say all the time, print ads are long tail items. You can't expect to sell a newly listed ad. In a lot of cases, it might not sell for 2 weeks. In a lot of cases, it might not sell for 2 months. And in some cases, it won't sell in 2 years. Keep them up, keep them for sale. They'll eventually sell. Now that we've looked at the numbers, I'm going to talk about just a couple of my takeaways. That some of it was a little bit expected or anticipated. Some of it was kind of surprising, though. And what I was surprised at, first of all, was that the total number of Life ads that I've got listed compared to Look, I thought those two numbers would be much closer together. I feel like I've listed a lot more Look ads than that, especially in recent months, but that's not what the store numbers reflect. The next thing, um, in the average listing price, you can see it's only 33 cents difference, but I set a higher goal for the Look ads than for the Life. And it's because of that perception, like I talked about earlier. Life is a little bit more stodgy, they're a little bit more refined, whereas the Look magazine is a little bit more faddish and a little bit more Wild West. And I think that it's not just a perception. I still feel like that's reflected in the advertising. I would expect that to bring better prices, and it may end up doing so, but that's not reflected in the numbers that we're looking at here. The next thing that was a little bit surprising to me is that the Life magazine average sale price of $15.11 is 34 cents higher than the Look magazine average sales price. And so that may be because the Life magazine advertisers are more of the flagship kind of companies, the biggest companies that can afford the best advertising firms and the biggest ad campaigns. And I'm sure that they used, all kinds of different feedback and, customer polling and focus groups and everything else to make sure that their advertising dollars spent were achieving the best results possible. And so it may just be that the Life ads are a little bit slicker, a little bit more artsy, better composed, whatever. But I was surprised to see that the average Life ad is bringing 34 cents more than the average Look ad. And then the sell through rate, to see that I'm selling more ads from Life than Look. When you consider what's sold against the total number listed, I was surprised to see that the Life number was higher. So by taking a look at these numbers, I've learned those things. I may or may not make some changes in my store. That's something I'm going to have to give serious consideration to. Uh, I may lower my Look ad prices by $1 after I looked at this, but this is the kind of information you can look at in your store to inform you about decisions like that you may want to make. I appreciate y'all sticking around to look at those numbers with me, and whether you decide to do your own analysis like that or not, I hope, like me, you thought that was a little bit fun and interesting to see. Now we're going to, as we always do, take a look at the weekly recap screen. As you can see, I sold 14 ads for $234.78. And just bear in mind that I've still got the 10% off promotion going on for just another couple of days. And then I've got decisions to make for the coming month or two about any kind of specials or promotions that I'm going to run in the store during that period of time. When you tune back in, I may have new information about that. But as you can see here, I did not have any ads that were sold to a buyer with a surname that matched a company name or the name of a person mentioned in an advertisement. I did have two sales going back to their home cities. Now, L&N Railroad was headquartered in Louisville, but I'm including in that L&N Railroad ad, the Great Chase, because that chase started right near Chattanooga, and that's where that buyer is. So I'm including that in that figure. I had one international sale to Ireland. I did not have any repeat customers this week. Overall, it was a fantastic week. A lot of fun sales. Some really cool stuff happened here. I enjoyed the analysis in the store. I hope you did too. And I hope to see you again next week. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, please hit the like button, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel. Also, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time.